Imagine for a second that you show up to a ride with your mates and you have the highest end bike there. Everyone's looking at you like, wow, this guy's probably pretty strong. This guy probably knows what he's doing. And 10 minutes into the ride, you get dropped. It's happened to me. It sucks. It's embarrassing, but it was a wake-up call for me. A wake-up call that speed is not in the high-end expensive bike. And this is a lesson that I learned from my local bike shop owner who was a former pro cyclist. I walked in one day looking to upgrade my bike and he looks at me, he's like, why are you looking to upgrade? And I'm like, I want to go faster. And this is what he said. It's not the bike that's going to make you faster, it's the engine. And then he's like pointing at my legs as he's saying that. And then he was like, take Ferrari frame, put Honda Civic engine, only goes so fast. You have to upgrade both. And so in today's video, I'm going to talk about the 4 things that influence your speed on the bike and how to upgrade each and every one of those 4 things to get you as fast as possible so you no longer show up to those group rides getting dropped or feeling embarrassed, but you show up strong and become as high-end as your bike. My name is Ely. I'm a strength coach for cyclists. Let's dive in. Okay, if the goal here is to get faster and to stop getting dropped, then we have to understand what makes up speed on the bike. There are 4 things that you need to understand that are actually going to influence your speed on the bike. The first is going to be power, literally how much power your legs can create, kind of like horsepower in a car. Number 2 is going to be your weight, how heavy you are. 400 horsepower in a Ferrari is not going to be 400 horsepower in a semi-truck. Number 3 is going to be aerodynamics, and this one's further broken up into a few things, such as the bike's aerodynamics, your aerodynamics, the wind, crosswind, tailwind, headwind, all influence your speed. And then finally, the 4th thing here is going to be like gravity. You know, when we're talking about inclines, going down a hill, going up a hill. Once you understand those 4 things, then you're able to get faster. The first thing we're going to have to look at is actually producing more power. And this is where the engine comes into play. Without that high-end engine, the car can only go so fast. Producing more power really comes down to training right, eating well, and recovering well. If you get those 3 in sync, it's the perfect pairing for improving on the bike and getting stronger and getting those legs producing more power. Training doesn't just come down to cycling though, and it doesn't just come down to riding more. The whole idea of more miles in the saddle only gets you so far before you plateau. Really, it's intentional miles in the saddle. So you have to actually ride smart, ride with purpose, train with purpose. And it's not just cycling that's going to get you faster, it's also strength training. This is not a widely known topic in our industry in cycling, but strength training can get you a long way and get you further ahead of a lot of people. And then pair that with a good recovery plan, good nutrition, good sleep, hydration. All of these things support your recovery so that you can adapt to your training load and get stronger and faster, and your body is performing better without overtraining or overexerting yourself and risking chronic fatigue. Second thing we talked about was weight. There are 2 options for this. We're looking at your weight and your bike's weight. Most high-end bikes are already designed to shave off as many grams as humanly possible. For example, the difference between an Ultegra group set and a Dura Ace group set, Ultegra being the mid-end and Dura Ace being the high-end, is just a few hundred grams, which in the grand scheme of things is not a lot of weight. But the difference in price is thousands. So if you already got the high-end bike, you've likely shaved off as many grams as you can possibly shave off. But if you were anything like me, getting a light bike, but you yourself are pretty heavy, I've been there. I got one of the lightest bikes on the market, and yet I was sitting at around 190, 195 pounds. Was I trying to compensate for something? Probably. So point being, you can obviously shave off a lot of weight off your bike, but you can only go so far with that before you have to start looking at shaving weight off yourself. And I'm not trying to take this to an extreme in any means. If you are already really light, don't get lighter. But if you do have a couple of pounds to lose, and we're talking like fat, we're not talking muscle or water, we're talking like there's visible fat stores that you can lose, fantastic. Again, nutrition, training, and recovery will help support you in your fat loss goal. I'm always weary talking about fat loss because it's a sensitive topic for a lot of people, and it was for me, but I can assure you after losing 20 pounds accidentally, and not 20 pounds of muscle, we're talking 20 pounds of fat through cycling, it's possible to get to your goal and feel just as strong, if not stronger, on the bike while looking better as well. All right, the 3rd thing we talked about here was aerodynamics. So first, let's talk about the bikes. Bikes are designed in at least a few ways. There are more climbing bikes, you know, with the round tubes, kind of like my bike, round tubes, and not really designed for aerodynamics, but designed to climb. There are gravel bikes, which are designed for a little bit more comfort, especially because you are on rough terrain. Then there are aero bikes. You have aero road bikes, which, the sleek geometry, something like the Colnago V4 RS, or even the Y1 RS, the new one. And then you have TT bikes, which is as aero as it gets. Now, obviously, aerodynamics are going to play a huge role in speed on the bike. And so getting a more aero bike will help with that. But there's a caveat. Aerodynamics play a bigger role the faster you're going. So if you're already not producing a lot of power and you're not able to go fast because the power you are producing is not getting you very fast and you're heavy and etc., kind of everything we just talked about, then getting an aero bike will, it's like marginal gains where there's a huge problem that needs to be fixed first. Second thing is the aerodynamics of your body. So this is literally the position that you put yourself in. Now, the higher you go, the higher up you are, the more it is going to make wind resistance. Typically, when you want to sit in the bars or in a comfortable position on the hoods is when you're getting a good tailwind. In a headwind, you want to get a little bit more aggressive. Your own postures and positions on the bike have a huge effect on the speed that you go. Training your body to literally be able to hold a more aerodynamic position will go a long way. And as we mentioned earlier, the third thing that breaks down in the aerodynamics category is wind. And this is completely out of your control, but the postures you put yourself in certain wind positions are in your control. And finally, the last thing, which I didn't really want to add in here, but I probably should, is incline. Now, you can't really control that. I mean, I guess you can control the route that you choose, but you can't really control the incline. So yes, it's going to influence your speed, obviously, because if you're going up a hill, you are going slower. If you're going down a hill, you are going faster. So that's pretty obvious. But power and weight and aerodynamics, again, like we said earlier, all make a difference to how you perform up the hill and down the hill as well. Up the hill, power and weight are going to make a bigger difference. Down the hill, weight and aerodynamics are going to make a bigger difference. So those... What the heck? So there you have it, the 4 things that you need to know in order to gain speed and get faster on the bike. Now, if you are interested in learning how to put out more power and increase your FTP while decreasing your weight and losing fat, I do have a 64-page document that I put together literally called the Lean Cyclist Blueprint, a dissertation on how to lose fat while gaining power. I am going to give you a warning. It is very comprehensive, very in-depth, but even if you just skim it and apply a few of the principles, it will help you to do that. DM me Blueprint on Instagram at @EliSamaha and I will send it your way. I'll put the link in the description down below to shoot me a DM. Thank you for being here, my friends, and we'll catch you next time.